I just love Achill Island. The scenery is always spectacular, even on a dull day, like the day that Nationwide went there to film the mountain sheep. We're moving on now to jewellery, and buying a piece of jewellery is a very personal thing. It's also a very personal thing to make jewellery, and Martina Hamilton is a jeweller who has long been inspired by the seashore, but it's only in recent years that she's realised why the sea keeps pulling her. She has discovered a family connection with a small island off the coast of Sligo, and it has now become a very special place for her, her husband and their 2 adopted daughters from China.
The dry stone wall stands shoulder high, grey lichen in the sea breeze.
When you go out onto Dernish, because there's nobody living on it anymore, you really feel like you're in the past, and it really sort of emphasises to you how quickly we can lose touch with the past. There's no living memory kind of left on the island, so when you're out there it's really so serene and so peaceful.
It's that kind of a place that you wistfully look out at and wonder about, you know. It's like a little secret. It's not hard to get with once you know. Once you have a little bit of confidence and you have a good boat and a life jacket. But it took me a long time to explore it, and I wouldn't have gotten around to do it if I hadn't had that family connection and that second link, the second reason to come.
Martina Hamilton has always been drawn to the seashore, and what she finds there has long influenced her jewellery designs. But now Martina has a new reason to come to a little island off the coast of Sligo called Dernish. She's found a long-lost family connection there.
I certainly didn't really know there was any connection with an island. So it's kind of a magical discovery, because I've spent all of my working life, I suppose, walking around the beaches of North Sligo, collecting shells and coming up with ideas for jewellery ranges, and now I'm thinking this has been my place for centuries. So it's a lovely thing to find out.
Martina found out by chance that her great-great-grandmother came from Dernish when some Americans in search of their roots tracked her down in her shop, the Cat on the Moon in Sligo.
They came into the shop to me, and I chatted to them and was able to arrange a visit to the island with them, with the thanks of neighbours from Connor's Island, Raymond O'Connor. And he drove us out here at low tide, and we had a cup of tea on the doorstep. So it was kind of magical. My great-great-grandmother lived in this house, and she would have been brought up here. And there were 5 other houses occupied on the island at that time, I think. So they would have had a nice little homestead, I suppose, here. It would have been a lovely place to live.
Do you have any idea kind of what sort of life they had, or why some of them would have left here?
I'd imagine economically, you know, many people left the country to find a better life somewhere else. And I know a lot of the family would have gone to England, some to America. The twins, who would have been the last occupants here, they both went to America to find a better life. But one of them came back, the other lived in America, and went on, and their descendants came to visit me in Sligo.
Dernish has now become a special place for Martina and her family, and the soundtrack to their visits is a song her husband Malcolm wrote about the love story attached to an old stone cottage.
The dry stone wall.
With our 2 children who were adopted from China, they're twin girls, it's, you know, our sense of family with them looking back to China is very far away, you know, and as a family now exploring Martina's roots, and in due course there's going to become some time for our girls as well, where we're going to maybe want to explore a little bit more about their heritage and, you know, go back there, and we'd have very little chance of ever finding who their people would be, but this is kind of bringing it all home, that it's a very important thing to kind of have that sense of connection, and that's going to be an important thing for them in the future.
I know that my daughters will really appreciate the history of the family and this very obvious story that they can follow now from one place with a funny name like Cloonty Puckett to another one, Dernish and Milkhaven, and all these other lovely names from North Sligo, Strida and Connor's Island. Like, there's lots of beautiful places for them to feel connected to as they became part of our family.
How has making this connection influenced your jewellery designing now?
Well, I think objects that I found here and stories I've heard have made very literal links, but also from an aesthetic point of view, I think that sort of sense of time and weathering on a place that I would have been attracted to when I was looking at things on the beach. You know, the way that nature wears things down and nature takes over. These are always going to be things that attract me. But now it has an extra layer because I feel I'm linking with the past and I'm linking with the future. And I'm taking aesthetics that were old and we're giving them a modern twist.
An old metal link Martina found on Dernish lies on her work desk, but there's clearly an Oriental influence at play in her work as well, the cultural fusion of her daughter's heritage and her own.
I think as well for my children who will probably have a more difficult time finding out about their past, I think the message for them is that they would follow their instinct, that they would find their own journey and trust themselves, and that there's something in your DNA that will lead you in the direction that you're meant to go in. And I know that they're going to have a lot of fun learning about their own culture in years to come. But I just think that it's great to know that your instincts can shout louder than the society you're living in, and that those little seeds are the ones that should be followed. And I'm sure it'll be empowering for them.
Well, that's Martina Hamilton, an artist and also a great family woman. And while we're on the subject of artists, make sure you join us on Wednesday, because we'll be coming to you from Showcase at the RDS, and we'll be introducing you to many of the great Irish artists, designers and craftspeople who showcase their work to international buyers.